Hey guys, Rigo here, and in this video I'm going to talk you through the top tips in COD Modern Warfare Zombies to give you the best chance of hitting all of the legendary and ultra schematics. So let's get straight into it. So the first couple of tips focus on the early game. The very first thing you should be doing when you load into a match is checking the tier 3 zone for a cargo contract. Now you don't need to worry about your weapons being pack-a-punched, all you really need is a couple of decoy grenades. Find a rift or a vehicle to quickly grab the cargo contract in tier 3 and then throw the decoys outside the garage to steal the vehicle. This contract is so easy and can be done in under a minute and gives you a free hit at a tier 3 reward rift where you could get schematics like the ray gun or other useful loot. Importantly, it also starts you off with 5k essence. The contract isn't always there, but if it is, then make sure you're the one that grabs it. Now the next tip is related to the doghouse. Having a dog with you is important in tier 3 in a squad, but even more if you're solo. The quickest way to get the tier 3 dog is to complete an escort contract in the early game. This can be tier 1 or tier 2, because doing this results in the escort vehicle running over zombies who then drop the chunks of flesh. You'll easily get 3 of these from one contract, which you can then use to summon the tier 3 dog at the location here on the map in the tier 3 zone. The dog is going to fight off a ton of zombies in tier 3, and crucially revive you or your teammates when you go down, and so generally having a tier 3 dog just makes doing tier 3 contracts so much easier. In tandem with this, I would try and collect the turret circuits, and these can be plugged into the turrets in tier 3, especially useful when completing either the bounty or spore control contracts. You can find the turret circuits in loot all around the map, but the skyscraper building here is particularly good for finding a ton of them, so you can just spam them in tier 3. In terms of building up cash and items to run tier 3 contracts, I'd recommend the cargo contracts in tier 2. They basically don't require any interaction with zombies and you can just keep farming them for 3k essence each time. Another tip for when you're in tier 3 is to try and join up with other squads. Now this is super easy to do, you just hold the D-pad and request to join nearby squads. I would recommend only doing this next to squads who are also in the tier 3 zone, as they're clearly farming contracts if they are running around in tier 3. Once you start doing tier 3 contracts, you're going to get a lot of sigil drops from the reward rift, and it's obvious that going into the dark ether gives you a good chance of getting better rewards, so make sure you try and align with a squad if you can join one to make the dark ether easier. Another super easy way to get the ultra schematics, and in this example I'm talking about the Scorcher, the legendary ether tool and flawless Ethereum crystal schematics, is to complete the red worm boss. Now there's a bunch of steps on how to complete this which we cover in one of our other videos, and I'll drop a link to it in the description, but honestly you don't even need to do that in most instances. Just keep an eye on the chat, as in most games other players will be talking about teaming up to defeat the red worm, and ideally another player will go and collect the USBs which are required to spawn the red worm at the end of the game. Need to consider in this instance is a strong pack-a-punched weapon and a durable gas mask which you can buy from the tier 3 shop. Head to the double ammo cache area near the gas at the end of the game if the lobby is going for the red worm, but if someone's leading on collecting the USBs, they'll likely tell you in the chat where you need to be anyway, and by simply taking part and shooting at the worm with a bunch of other random players, you'll be granted one of the 3 ultra schematics at the end of the game. So even if you had absolutely no involvement in collecting USBs or installing them, you'll be rewarded the same as the players who did. The final tip is once you start getting schematics, be sure to craft the better ones whenever possible. So if you've got a flawless crystal schematic for example, and you're about to log off for the day, don't wait until you play again to craft it. Be sure to craft it just before you log off. Some of these schematics have huge cooldowns, and in the case of the flawless crystal schematic it's 3 days, so the more you can cut down the cooldown, the sooner you can use these vital items again. Same goes for things like the dog bone and the golden armor plate, the schematics for which can be gained by completing contracts in the Elder Sigil version of the Dark Ether, and they both have 2-day cooldowns. So in summary, just set yourself up for success as best you can using these tips, and just keep grinding tier 3 contracts. As I said, it's really important to do this as a squad whenever possible, and you don't need friends to do this, just request to join nearby squads in tier 3 who will almost always be happy to have another player in the team to help them, and you all get the reward rift at the end of each contract. You will often find in tier 3 that once you get one of the rare schematics, such as the ray gun, it drops much more frequently in reward rifts, which is kind of frustrating, but you can take that if you want and then give it to a player that doesn't have it. Let me know in the comments below what other tips you would give to fellow zombies players on how to grind out the contracts, and if you find this video useful, then subbing would really help us. Take care guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.